Welcome to Front Office Pros. Today, we're going to be going through some $1 auction draft steals you're going to regret missing out on. Your fantasy football auction drafts are right around the corner, and Joe and I are here to break down a few players that we just think are just plain out steals for $1. These guys even are showing at $0 on the ESPN cheat sheet. So, Joe, why don't you start us off? Who's the first guy that you're saying, wow, I can't believe I can get this guy for $1?
Yeah, first guy that's got me saying that is going to be quarterback Drake Maye of the New England Patriots. And, as you mentioned, the ESPN cheat sheet's got him at $1. I'll be hard-pressed to find that in your actual drafts you get this guy for $1. But being that he is that currently $1, there's high potential for Drake Maye to have a breakout year this year and finish out the way he finished last season, the way he can continue on it, the new weapons that this offense has. And, if you're following the buzz out on training camp, I know that doesn't tell the whole story, but everyone's just absolutely raving about Drake Maye and how he's, got things cooking with Demario Douglas and Kyle Williams out there.
Well, it's interesting, right? And we've talked about this in the past. So, and I always enjoy this episode. Well, I shouldn't say I always, because we only did it once, but it was one of my favorite episodes we did last year, where we did cheap versus expensive. And if you watched it, it would have actually, or listened to it, it would have benefited you because we compared, for example, Sam Laporta for his costs versus Brock Bowers and his costs. And had you went almost all the cases that we talked about, you would have been better off going on the cheap route versus the expensive route, which is interesting, right? But you look at it, it's like, okay, Drake Maye for $1, or based on this, you're looking at Jalen Hurts for $26. Like that does. In that economy, why would I ever choose $26 for Hurts when I can get Maye for $1? I agree with you. I'm probably not going to get him for $1, and if you do, then it truly is a steal.
Yeah. If you can truly walk away and get Maye for $1, that will be a steal. And people don't maybe people don't realize, but like he's got the rushing upside as well as a guy compared to Jalen Hurts, as you mentioned. So the same reasons you like a guy like Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen, those rushing quarterbacks, not to say that he'll be as effective rushing or even get as many rushing touchdowns, but he definitely has that rushing upside to at least be comparable.
Well, I mean, you have that last round quarterback mentality that's been there for a long time, but I feel like that's kind of changed. I feel like there's kind of a changing of the guard with these quarterbacks that are dual threat, and you're seeing them kind of have a cheat code element to them. That it's almost seeming like people are starting to pay more attention to quarterbacks. And I don't know. I'd have to look into it, but I feel like quarterbacks are getting a little more love these days.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like it's the guys that you mentioned, that have the dual rushing threat. They are the cheat codes, the Lamar Jacksons, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen. Now throwing a guy like Jaden Daniels, who's also mobile, had rushing upside coming out last year. So, Drake Maye definitely falls into that category, and I would think that he'd be a guy that people covet as well.
All right, so the first guy I'm going to be talking about here that you can get for $1, it literally says $0, so keep that in mind. It's going to be the rookie out of Houston, running back Woody Marks. Now, some of you may not be as familiar with Woody, but he's a guy that you should be aware of. When you look at it, he, coming out of USC, was a great receiving back. And that's the thing that really has got me excited about him because we just heard that Joe Mixon's going to be starting on the PUP. So, who knows when he's going to be back to being himself. And then even recently you heard D'Amico Ryans talk about how they were asking about Nick Chubb. And he kind of made an interesting comments about how he's like, yeah, he's almost to an instance, he kind of has had tread in the tires. He's not necessarily the same guy, but he still plays hard or whatever else, right? So Woody Marks, coming out of USC, he had 261 catches for 1,546 receiving yards and 5 receiving touchdowns in his collegiate career. I understand he was a late round running back, but in this instance, I don't really care. I think there's an opportunity for him to be involved. And because that offensive line in Houston's been so bad, especially last year, I know they retooled it this offseason, I could see C.J. Stroud looking to check down to the running back often because even if the offensive line slightly improves, it still had its challenges last year. So I think for $1 for Woody Marks, I think that's a great value.
Yeah, it really is, especially, things don't look that great for Joe Mixon. I mean, I guess they said, we'll see if he's even able to participate in training camp at all. Preseason is in question. The start of the season is even in question here. So not really sure what's going on there. But given his age and if he, with him not being able to get that full training camp, like I feel like even when he is able to get back on the field, like we see typically those guys end up getting like the soft tissue issues. So even if he, ends up playing at some point in the season, it's not a guarantee that he's going to be able to finish out the season, injury free. It's just crazy that this, injury that he was suffering from last year is still bothering him.
Well, and Marks actually was a fourth round pick, so it's not like he was even a sixth or seventh round pick. Again, not that really
Right.
matters. Once you're there, as long as you prove yourself, that's what matters. But I think he's going to have some great opportunity. So getting him for $1 is a great steal.
He should. I mean, we mentioned the Mixon piece, but then also, Nick Chubb, like we don't know how much he's got left in the tank. I mean, he's coming back from really significant, injuries as well. So who knows if he looks like Nick Chubb of old or what he ends up looking like.
And I'm not worried about Damian Pierce. I think his days
No.
are long gone. Or they are Ogawabale. I can't. Well,
Yeah.
there it is. There it is. Yeah. So,
But yeah, I mean, I think Pierce, as a kick returner, I think maybe he makes a team for that because he's shown a pretty good ability for the kick return. But yeah, I'm not worried about Pierce in the backfield on the offense side of the ball.
All right, Joe, who do you got for your second player?
All right, my second player, I'm going to go with wide receiver Adam Thielen, who's going to be starting out of the slot for the Carolina Panthers. And probably wondering, why am I suggesting such an old guy to be picked on here for $1? But I think he truly is a steal. I mean, he showed flashes last year. Him and Bryce Young kind of have a good rapport. I mean, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, second to last week of the season, he had 110 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was, injured during the season, but in the games he played, he was at least the end of the season. He had 2 double-digit target games, along with 7, and then 3 straight weeks of 6 targets as well. And if with the addition of Tetairoa McMillan in this offense, a true number 1 wide receiver, I think that only helps kind of clear the middle of the field away for a guy like Adam Thielen to operate.
Yeah, I just wonder how much Tetairoa McMillan. I mean, you have high hopes that he's going to get involved quite a bit. You got Xavier Legette in this team. You got a lot more options than before when it seemed like Thielen was the only guy. So the question is, but for $1, take the flyer on him. And if by week 2, week 3, week 4, he's not that part of the offense, what did you have to lose? It's $1.
Yeah, right. I just think, if Bryce Young keeps continuing on that path and this Carolina Panthers offense does tick up, I mean, Thielen seems to be a guy that Bryce Young looks to when he gets in trouble. So he definitely could return pretty good value there on the $1.
Yeah, and I think he actually is a guy that you could get for $1 too, honestly.
Right. Yeah, I mean, feel like most people were picking him up off of waivers last year.
Oh, absolutely. So the next guy I'm going to be talking about is a guy that I know you're a big fan of, Joe, and that's going to be at quarterback J.J. McCarthy of the Minnesota Vikings. We saw what Sam Darnold was able to do last year as the starter, and prior to that, he's had a pretty lackluster career. His best finish, ever was quarterback 25. It looks like, and he was quarterback 9 last year with the Vikings. Throwing for over 4,000 yards, 35 touchdowns, and 12 picks. I personally think that McCarthy is a more talented player than Darnold is. I think you do too, Joe. And so with that offense, you're talking about that offensive line probably being in the top 5, having weapons like Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hockenson, Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones, and even Jordan Mason out of the backfield. They've got some other interesting wide receivers as well. So I think JJ has all the opportunity in the world to really maximize this opportunity. And at this point, he's $1. I think he could go for more, but at the same time, people aren't spending a lot for quarterback. So taking a guy like him, if you end up getting the quarterback 8 or 9 like you did with Donald, I think you're pretty happy that you didn't spend that much, and he's going to have some boom games. The only thing is, I think Jefferson has like a hamstring injury. If that lingers, then there's a little bit of a concern. But I think it's early. I don't think you have to worry about it.
Yeah, from the Jefferson standpoint, I don't think we got to worry about it just yet. Like you said, happened early enough in camp. Think he should be able to get back towards the end, maybe get in a preseason game and ultimately be good to go for week 1. But yeah, McCarthy for $1. I mean, you mentioned it. Like, I do think there is a chance because, with the Jordan Addison news of him going to be serving some type of suspension here, maybe the Jefferson hamstring injury, maybe that scares some people off, but he's just in this, really quarterback friendly system with Kevin O'Connell with the weapons that he does have. And there's a really high chance that, you could get him as a steal for $1 and he does end up finishing as a top 10 quarterback, similarly to, Sam Darnold.
All right, Joe, who is your final $1 auction player that you got to have?
Yeah, my last player that gotta have, and we'll end up drafting is gonna be tight end Colston Loveland with the Chicago Bears.
Homer.
You're just saying a homer because he's a Michigan, alum, fine. But at the end of the day, he's back from the shoulder injury, and in camp, this guy's been people have been tweeting about him, really saying how much separation he's able to create from the tight end position, and that's the thing, like. He's not going to be, asked to block. I mean, that'll be Cole Kmet's role. Ben Johnson's really going to use this guy as a weapon passing option down the field. Apparently, he's already got a good rapport with Caleb Williams as well. We've seen what Sam Laporta has been able to do with the Lions in that Ben Johnson system. So for a buck at the tight end, for a flyer, I think there's a high chance Colston Loveland really performs well and gives you great value there.
Yeah, it's interesting. Do you or anybody that's kind of tracking what's going on in training camp, how much weight does it hold? Because right now, DJ Moore and guys like Luther Burden, I would say, are on the downswing. Guys like Roma Dunze and Colston Loveland are on the upswing. That's what all the reports seem to be indicating. This Bears offense is going to be very interesting and one I'm excited to watch to see, how Ben Johnson decides to, implement his offense, and we get to see it firsthand. I think it's going to be shaky in the beginning, but who does he end up leaning towards? I was concerned for Loveland a little bit because of the Burden selection, but it seems like Burden just recently was able to get on the field. He's been dealing with, I believe it's a hamstring injury, and as a result, I don't know if he's getting those early reps to really take advantage of it. I know he's going to be in that Z role, which is that Amon-Ra St. Brown role, where you've got Roma Dunze, who's more so going to be in the X role, which is similar to what Jameson Williams was. So, again, the offense is still gelling right now, but we're going to find out really early on, and people are going to want a piece of this offense, and you're going to find out very quickly whether you gambled and picked the right guy or you came out and you swung and you missed.
Yeah, I do think that's fair. And I think, I do think there's definitely going to be some growing pains in early on in the season. I mean, you've already heard from some guys, in camp here, the reports. Caleb Williams doesn't look that great. He's throwing interceptions. Ben Johnson's just pulling him off because he's not doing things the way he wants with his footwork and everything.
I'm not surprised, are you?
No, not at all. Yeah, I mean, because that's what you got to coach. Johnson's got to coach those bad habits out of him, and so he can play within the system. But that's also why there's going to be some growing pains. Just everything's just so new for Caleb Williams and the rest of the guys.
I don't know if Caleb is redeemable. It's early yet. He had a ton of potential. That I had him as the top guy in the class when he came out because I raved about his ability to, play unconventionally. But
doesn't work in the NFL.
It doesn't. It does in doses, but it can't be. He can't be Superman. And right now, or at least he was Superman before. We'll find out. This will be the true test. Do we see some sort of progression or not? I'm excited to watch. It's too early to tell, but I'm excited to watch.
Right.
It should be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. But yeah, if he's going to, want to stay out there, he's going to have to. Ben Johnson's not going to put up with it, anything other but, his offense and the style that he wants to run in. So Caleb Williams is going to have to figure it out.
Well, to his detriment, I don't really know what running game they're really going to have. I'm not that confident in DeAndre Swift. So then they've got Monangai, who they drafted late, and I think it was in the 7th round. So I don't know. It should be interesting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, upgraded offensive line should help them run the ball. I mean, Swift looked pretty good last year. I think he's going to be fine.
All right, my last player I'm going to be talking about, who I think is a steal. I keep pounding the table for this guy. Joe thinks I'm nuts, but that's okay. It's going to be wide receiver Josh Palmer of the Buffalo Bills. I understand it's the everyone eats mentality there in Buffalo, so there could be some concerns about wanting to draft this guy. But look, this guy's a dollar. And if you look at that room, I want a piece of this offense. I think that Khalil Shakir obviously did very well last year. He's great yards after the catch. I don't really know if we're going to see anything more out of him. I think that might be just the role that he played like he was last year. Keon Coleman, very up and down from what I've been hearing at camp. Josh Palmer is a true route separator, and I think that is something that the Bills' offense has been missing. Now, I also was saying this last year when it came to Curtis Samuel, if you replay the tape, and I was really wrong about that. But, he's more of a gadget type player, and he can't stay healthy. And he's
Neither can Josh Palmer.
Not as bad as Samuel, though. Not as bad.
It hasn't been around long enough.
I do think, but it's true. But I think that Palmer, there have been really good reports coming out of camp that Palmer has looked the part. And again, it depends on how much you buy into the narrative of what's going on in camp. But at this point, for only $1, and he's showing at $0, I'll take the swing on him.
Yeah, I mean, for $1, I mean, you could take a stab, but frankly, I don't want anyone out of this Bills offense other than Josh Allen.
What about James Cook?
Nah, and not at probably where you're going to have to pay. There's no way he's getting all those touchdowns again, which made him relevant. Honestly, probably just rather take the swing on Ray Davis, and maybe James Cook gets injured or something, and we've seen what Ray Davis can do when he takes over. But yeah, that's where I would just take Josh Allen, because I think all these wide receivers are going to be wildly inconsistent. I think they're going to each have their big games, but then I think at the end of the season, you might look at their overall production and be like, well, these guys did pretty good from a fantasy standpoint. I think you're going to be disappointed until one of them has a big game.
I think Palmer can lead the team in targets. I really do.
I think that's crazy.
To each his own, but I think he can.
Yeah. I think Shakir leads the team again.
I mean, it's easy to say. He did last year. So, I mean, things can certainly repeat from last year. But just because it happened last year doesn't mean it's going to happen again. I think there's a case to be made that he becomes a focal point of the offense.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. You've been pounding the table for him. I'm certainly not buying it, so we'll see what happens.
But would you take him for $1?
No.
Wow.
I think there's so many other players for $1 at the wide receiver position. I'd rather take a flyer on. Like I said, I don't really want a piece of this Bills offense. I mean, draft Josh Allen, and then you'll be happy, and you don't care who he throws the ball to.
That's true, because then at that point, then you don't really care, right? At that point.
Yeah, I mean, and if Palmer ends up having a breakout year and does have those deep plays on the field, you're going to be happy because you're going to have Josh Allen creating all those big plays for you.
So that does it for this episode. We went through our $1 steals that we just keep on drafting. If you haven't done so already, check out our most recent episode. We went through some hidden gems and some trap picks for some training camp battles for the 2025 season. You're not going to want to miss that. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time.